Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Bensoussan. Welcome to Not That Kind of Rabbi, our twice a month podcast that we put on, and we hope you enjoy. Lots of you telling me that you do. One of the ways you can say thank you for doing the podcast is through Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/NTKR, patreon.com/NTKR. You can donate any amount that's up there on the board. We give you your exclusive spiritual blogs. There are different price levels of donation, and with them come different things. So I know it's a bit of a gauntlet, but it really doesn't take much, and anything that you can do is truly appreciated. So once again, patreon.com/NTKR. I also have a book out, which I just found out today is on a bestsellers list. So that's a wonderful thing. The book is called I Thought He Was Dead, and it's a spiritual memoir. It talks about me and coming from Morocco and, growing up in Canada and my broadcast career. But it is very much a book also about a spiritual journey as a human, and also about aging and moving yourself from aging in your life to saging in your life and how you can get there. So if you'd like to get it, go to Indigo or Amazon. They should be able to ship it to you pretty quickly. It's kind of uneven, but they do it. I Thought He Was Dead. Or go to my website, ralphbensoussan.ca, and you'll see that it's available through my publishers, Woolsack and Wynn. So thank you to everybody who's been reading the book. I've been getting really wonderful feedback. It's my first book, so it's kind of new territory for me, so I really appreciate it. Today I'm going to have a guest who we have a lot in common, even though we've never met. So for those who don't know any of my history, in the year 1957, 2 years after my birth, people are now doing the math to see how old I am. I'll save you the trouble. 65, 66 in December. We came from Tangier, Morocco to Toronto. And one of the things that allowed us to do that was the Jewish Immigrant Aid Service. They said, okay, to a lot of Spanish Moroccans like me, Spanish Moroccan Jews, to come to Toronto. My uncle and a few others came, and my father phoned and said, so, is it all right? It was May, and my uncle said, yeah, it's nice here. It's warm. So we showed up in September of 57, and by December, my father was saying, you call this warm? So we were good. We had our own synagogue slowly but surely. It started off in the upstairs of the Bloor Wise, they called it then, and now the Jewish Community Center. It's down in Bloor in Toronto. And then we had our synagogue called Petach Tikva and Shea Castilla Synagogue. And that's where I kind of grew up. But I grew up in two worlds. And it's one of the things I'm going to talk to my guest about in a few minutes. I'm a Sephardic Jew. And I grew up in an Ashkenazi, which is the Eastern European Jew, or as some people say, what's that? And I say, Fiddler on the Roof? And they say, yeah. I say, those guys. So I grew up in their Hebrew school, went to their junior congregation because my father did a lot of shift work, but I spent more than enough time in the Moroccan milieu and certainly had my bar mitzvah in Petach Tikva when we were still right downtown on Brunswick. So it's been an interesting journey to be of several different worlds. And in that, I've been enriched by both traditions a great deal. So that's kind of the history of, for one, namely me. On Sunday of this week, you won't be hearing me probably for another couple of weeks, so it's now in the past. I'll be going to a Sephardic conference, actually, in Montreal, and I'll be interviewing an author, Robert Satloff, who wrote a book called, wrote a book about the Holocaust in North Africa, how it manifested itself in North Africa. Because for a lot of us, it was like, no, it didn't happen here. But he outlines how it did happen in Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco in certain ways, with some European Jews being brought there and some locals, like my father, being sent to labor and internment camps. But certainly a different experience than the Holocaust of Eastern Europe and the mechanized murder of 6 million people. So nonetheless, it exists. It's going to be an interesting conversation. So I've always carried it. I used to do a show called Midday with Valerie Pringle, and her joke to anybody who walked in the room was, wait for it, in a minute or two, he's going to say he's a Spanish Moroccan Jew. So it's obviously been a big part of my personality and my identity over the years. So all that said, I want to introduce you to my guest. If he clicks on his camera icon, I will see him and you will see him. He's doing it now. He's searching furiously. There he is. Aaron Bensoussan is a Hazan, a cantor, and a liturgical expert in terms of the beautiful music, not just of Morocco and of Sephardic Judaism, but of Ashkenazi Judaism as well. He's moved through both worlds. So he got in touch with me and I was so excited and I thought I'd love to have him on. So Aaron, welcome to Not That Kind of Rabbi. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. It's really a privilege to be with you. It's an honor. I've heard you. I was a big fan of yours for many, many years, listening to jazz, which is my love. Jazz is your love. And so I would listen to you very early in the morning because I would study learning Torah, you know.
Yeah. Well, it was his own Torah.
Yeah.
You know, okay, you'll love this. I do a podcast for Jazz FM now called The Torch. And do you know who I got to interview a couple of weeks ago? It's going to be on in December, I think. Sonny Rollins. I got to interview Sonny Rollins.
Wow.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
91.
You're in that station. You're an icon. I mean, you know, people know you as one of the people that build up the station, and your personality went through so beautifully. And you could see the intensive love that you have for jazz and for music in general and for people.
Yeah, thank you. That's so kind of you. So I'm from Tangier. I'm a tangerine, a tangerino. That's right. Or as a friend of mine who is the only Moroccan west of Manitoba, we were talking one day and he said, but you know, these guys, they're French Moroccans. And we both looked at each other and he went, forasteros. Which is basically strangers. So Jews have a way of making it so that if you're not right down the lane, you're not one of them, you're one of them. But you're not from Tangier, right?
No, I'm from Mogador, Essaouira. It's right on the coast near Agadir. It's at one time this city had big saints like Rabbi Pinto, all the great Kabbalists. Their tombs are still there, and I have visited with my wife quite a few times, you know, to show the beauty. Right now, unfortunately, there's no Jews left in that city, and so it's different. Obviously, for me, it's different. Not seeing a synagogue open, even though there are still a couple synagogues left in that city that where my father used to pray. And I used to go with him as a youngster. So it's still, in my own eyes, I still see the Yidden, I still see the Jews kind of walking, and still the sounds of the piyutim, of the songs that were sung on Shabbat and different things, just part of the walls, like they say. It's like think to you, that's what you would hear.
So what did you speak at home, French or Spanish?
I spoke French and Arabic.
And Arabic, yeah.
Moroccan Arabic.
Yeah. I have a relative who's he's English, like British, but he's an Arabist. And I was going back to Morocco once with my wife, and I said, give us a list, because I don't speak Arabic. My parents spoke Arabic. I said, give me a list of Arabic words. And he said, no. Moroccan Arabic is completely different than Egyptian or Syrian or any of those. It's a completely different Arabic. So he said, I can't help you with that. You're gonna. So what I did in Tangier is I spoke Spanish, and everyone understood. We were looking for the old. My father and mother worked at the old Jewish hospital in Tangier, Hospital Ben Shimon. Wow. And so I went looking for it, and I did find it, and I found the woman who had taken care of my brothers. So your family, though, the lineage of your family goes very profoundly into some of the most impactful Jewish thinkers in history, including Maimonides and, a Bensoussan who taught Maimonides. I mean, that's crazy.
That is crazy. When I think about that, it's very scary. It's like, wow, coming from that, what the heck did I do my life?
How do I follow that up?
Exactly.
And your father was a prominent rabbi and a leader of the Jewish community, right?
My grandfather, grandfather from my mother's side was the head rabbi of Morocco in his time, and he was a great, one of those special rabbis, no nonsense rabbis. It's a different kind of category and caliber of people. These people. He was a shochet. He slaughtered animals at the age of 13.
Wow.
He was, they were like spoon-fed by their parents, and everything was just so like if you went to Shtetl in Europe and you have all the Hasidim and you have all the rabbis who teach you from father to son and this and that. It's unfortunately today, you get the diploma over internet and you're a rabbi or you're a doctor, who knows what you are, In those days, they didn't monkey around. You had to do your homework. Get out there and start being a judge or whatever.
It's also more visceral. I mean, you were, your teacher was breathing. I remember my bar mitzvah teacher, Mr. Oziel, would be like right beside my ear, breathing in and out and going, no eso, don't do that. No eso. It's okay, I'm trying. Go, Amar Hashem. I'm trying my very best. So, what do you do when you have a legacy like that? When you have that kind of lineage, did you always feel that you had to do something with that, or did you feel free to do whatever you wanted to do with your life?
Right. Well, tell you the truth, I always knew about the greatness of my grandfathers and everything, and of course my mother will tell me stories of the different things that they did and miracles that happened to them, really things that are not, they're not usual. In other words, they're things that you have to be kind of a mystic. You have to be a person who's very pure, who basically never slept, who studied day and night. And so when it comes from, when those stories ring in my ears, I knew definitely that I came from a good family, and just by being in your house and seeing how your parents are special, how they take care of you. They were always there when I came home. It's not like one of these families. You wish you never knew your father or mother. We had what we call in Yiddish yichus. We had foundations based on Torah and respect, and those days that's what it was. And even before my days, already in my days when I was growing up, most of the Jews were really leaving to Canada or France or Israel. So I didn't really have the chance to see my grandfather and the elders in their in the height of Judaism that was in Morocco at that time. So, but it certainly left me with the responsibility, and that's why my mother called my brother and said to him, "You got to do something with this kid. He's starting to play music," as if it was like the worst thing in the world to play. He started to play music, and he started to sing in weddings and stuff like that. And we have to do something with him because he's going to go bad. So that's when my brother took the initiative and brought me through yeshiva in Brooklyn, in New York, to come at 1968. I came, I was 13 years old, just right after my bar mitzvah. I was still with my suit for my bar mitzvah, these special suits. And I came, with a haircut, like if I'm going to Vietnam, very short.
Mm-hmm.
came to yeshiva, and when I went to yeshiva, I finally, by learning and everything Torah at that time, I started to see the responsibility of having great grandfathers and people that were steeped in Torah, and so that left me with a sense of responsibility. Until today, it's egging me where I come from and the guilt and everything. Am I my potential?
That's good. Good Jewish guilt. It always works, right? So your mother's maiden name, it wasn't Bensoussan. What was your mother's
My mother's name was actually Bensoussan without the Levi, because we also Levi.
Okay.
Like Levi Bensoussan. But my mother was Bensoussan, and they,
so they had this. Okay.
Yeah.
Ours were Ben Mergi and Bengio.
Oh, wow.
So Bengio, my brother seems to have thought that it was Italian root, Ben Giovanni. And Ben Mergi would have been, Margi was the ancient capital of Azerbaijan. Oh. So perhaps, and my father's side looked much more Semitic and Arabic and dark. And my mother's side looked very European. And, when I was born, they called me Blanquito, little white one, because I wasn't dark skinned like one of my brothers is dark skinned. Wow. But it's so interesting because there, 1956, there's 268,000 Jews in Morocco. Today, there's less than 2,000 Jews in the whole country.
Right. It's amazing, and it's still thriving. The people that are there, have wealth, and that's why I guess they're still there. Or some of them are very poor because they couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
Like you have these two.
And so you a lot of Moroccans went to Israel.
Right.
My mother, I did a documentary series a while back called My Israel, and my mother just passed away a little while ago, but I was in her kitchen and she was making biscocho de miel, honey cookies.
Wow.
And so she's making the honey cookies, and we're interviewing her with a camera. I go, Ma, why didn't we go to Israel from Morocco like almost everybody else did? And she was very blunt, my mother. And she just said, why would I go by being treated badly by Arabs to being treated badly by Jews? I don't want to go to Israel because as Sephardim, we were the lower class, right?
That is true.
And when you come to Tirana, the Ashkenazi didn't even know who we were, which I thought was a bonus. They just left us alone. Right? It was just like, we don't know that they're supposed to know. We don't even know what they are. Like, who goes around, going, we're just a different people.
Right.
So that's one of the things I've always really. And then you go to the Ashkenazi, and they're a totally different sound.
Completely.
Right?
Yes.
Tell me about those two different, walking and straddling those two different worlds of Sephardi Arabic songs and Ashkenazi Germanic songs. Like how do you move through those worlds? How do you bring each to the other?
Right. Well, when in the Moroccan piyutim upbringing that I had from my father, and getting up very early in the morning to go through the different bakashot, we call that, like 4 o'clock in the morning. We would get up on Friday before the prayers and all that. We would go through like an hour and a half with cookies that my mom will give, or other ladies will. That's why I got up for the coffee. I love the music also. So that kind of music is very, very kind of what we call in music, in the words of melismatic, very fancy, very fancy turns and crechts and everything. So I had that already to begin with when I was born. So when I went to the Jewish Theological Seminary in America, where I graduated as a cantor, which I'm getting my doctorate, an honorary doctorate, believe it or not.
Mazal tov.
Thank you from the seminary. They saw that I had this ability to sing very very fancy turns, and it's like a jazz,
Right, right.
and you have the mode, and you would just go and sing yeah. It's like a violin, you know what I mean?
Beautiful.
So when I came there, I started to sing to them, and all these professors with bow ties, they accepted me right away to the seminary, and they said, you're going to be a good Hazan, in which I did. And then I listened to the great cantors like Cantor Aaron Rosenblatt singing Histal, which I got goosebumps when I first came to America. That's the first record that my brother put on for me to hear what an Ashkenazi Hazan was. And he sang this star from Shalosh Regalim, from Pesach. Tal, 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 ba, 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 ten, liretz, ba, ba, isa, ba, ba, retzach, shiseinu, bera, ba, 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 cha, beracha, bedi, itza, ba, ba, roeda, gama, maneveti, rosh, ותיר בוש ביעפר יצח קוימם, 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 קומם עיר, קומם עיר, עיר וחבצח אוי בטל בבל. It's a different world.
It's like with the Ashkenazi song, there's a tear in the throat, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. There's a built-in sorrow.
Exactly.
Right.
That is right.
Bacha Levine, a young singer now in New York, is a beautiful, she sort of puts little nigunim inside a song, like Bayom Babadidai, Om Didai, Om Didai, oh. And when I think of Sephardic music, I don't feel that same sense of sorrow. I sort of find myself really just being taken somewhere by it's almost like a wave, Arabic sound, that 9-tone minor key. It's just a different kind of sound. It's like the muzin. It just evokes a different feeling, right?
Completely. So what happened to me, how I mixed the things, I was a chazan in Long Island, in Roslyn Heights, very fancy shul, and I was like, right after I graduated, I had such a talent that God gave me. The people there said, this is the cantor we want. I sent them an Anenu from Moshe Kutsevitsky, a very difficult piece. They went crazy. They hired me. That was different. And people tell me, do you know what kind of shul you got into? How fancy and how this? I said, I could see it's fancy. God gave me a talent, and I thank God for that. I still I didn't even know what I got into, how good I had it, because I was just a simple Moroccan. I still remember when I had $7 when I came to America with a few jewelries for my bar mitzvah. That's what I remember. To this was like a miracle of miracles.
Yeah, where's the other fina? I want to have my thing. It's not other fina here. It's cholent.
It's
cholent. It's other fina. Chickpeas, potato, beef, egg. Get into it.
So one time in the middle of Musaf, one of the second part of the second part of the Shabbat prayers liturgy is called the Musaf. I just went off. I missed my songs from home. So I would start to count Shabbat. This is an Ashkenazi count Shabbat Ratzita Korbenotea. ציוויתה פירושיה עם סידור נסח ועמיין גר עולם כבודים נחלו טועמי החיים זכו וגם אוהבים דבריה בחם Azemi Sinai, I want to fly my flamenco mode. I died in back. The people told me, what are you doing? Unbelievable.
I'm jamming with myself.
That's right.
So you were starting to float back in and out
Exactly.
of two different traditions, crossing the bridge back and forth, and they're going, hey, what are you doing?
That's it.
But that takes a certain you're living in different worlds, and it's almost like speaking different languages, right? Like you think differently if you're singing one way or the other, is my assumption.
100%, and I know exactly when I'm eating smaltz herring or couscous.
Yeah, I remember. I went to what's called Kiddush after a Saturday service. You have Kiddush where people sit and eat, and I had to go to an Ashkenazi synagogue because my father was working, and I would go to Beth Shalom Synagogue in Toronto, which was up the street from my house and where I went to Hebrew school. And I'd learn, Hadesh, Hadesh, Yameinu. I mean, I'd learned how the Ashkenazim do things. But when I went to Kiddush, they'd have desserts that were called nothings. And I thought, oh my God, what do these people eat? Where's the visuelas? Where's the real food? I want real food.
Yeah, that's right.
I used to always joke with my Ashkenazi friends that, I said, look, your food, it all starts with a K, Kugel, Kreplach, Knedlach, Kishka, and it's all beige. Right. And I said, our food is, well, I always said we're the R&B of Judaism. We're the rhythm and blues of Judaism. We're a different way of doing it. But you end up really, like me, in many ways, living in an Eastern European Jewish milieu as a Sephardic Jew.
Right.
Where is there a tension in that for you? Is there something you have to work with and figure out how to still be you?
Well, that was probably one of the hardest things, because we come from a different culture, and it was hard for me when I first came to the yeshiva and start to hear these sounds which I'm not used to, food I'm not used to. It was a big shock for me, and that shock, until today. Obviously, it's not the same thing. After 40 years of eating cholent and gefilte fish and you get used to it. I even like it, but there was a transition there, from hating it to liking it.
Yeah.
And that's something that's part of my life and part of your life and many other people that had to adjust to a new reality, a new life, a new music, and everything else. But there is always a connection when you're a Moroccan. When you have all this kind of music, like African music and rhythms and 6/8 and all this Moroccan music and incredible music, you have rhythms that are so difficult and so advanced, like in the Andalusian music, and so when you listen to jazz, it's already home. That's why I like jazz, and I say, why do I like it so much? And I like it so much that even in the middle of the davening, I threw free blue notes here and there. It's part of being Jewish. It's Jewish notes into Jewish modes. I mean, it intertwines somewhere. And it comes, certainly in my soul, even though it's gospel or jazz, but there is a certain spirituality in there.
Yeah,
I don't think about the great jazz people that they were spiritual. They were almost like rabbis. They looked like rabbis, and they played that instrument as if they were mystics. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm nuts.
No. I like when I said at the beginning, I interviewed Sonny Rollins recently at 91. A good half of our conversation was about the fact that what he's doing, as far as he's concerned, is a spiritual pursuit.
Wow.
Right, and part of what it is for him is not to try to be something, but to just be available to what is actually happening. He says, if I'm playing well, I'm not playing the saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a conduit. It's playing me. I'm just here. And if I resist it and try to think, how am I doing? Does anybody like what I'm doing? Then I lose the thread.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Wow.
So, and I think with any spiritual singing, there is that. I mean, when I listen to Gregorian chant, and I think to myself, somewhere between 5 and 10 men are standing there, and they've got a 3-note range that they're moving up and down in for an hour.
Right.
And I just think, well, this is about being present. It's not about showing off.
Right. Exactly.
How do you deal? I always had a problem. If the cantor was too good, then I didn't have to do anything. I could just sit back in my chair and they would take care of all the singing. And the rabbi would just say page 62 and page 69, that it was more of a performance. How do you find a way to bring the people who are in that whatever service you're doing into a circle with you, as opposed to just you're the performance and they're the audience? How do you do that?
Right. That is, that's like singing an aria in a beautiful opera, in any opera, where the music is so incredible that it becomes spiritual. It's something godliness in it. So our job is to make that godliness come real and come true. It's like you have a piece, it's written, it's how you play it. If you play it in a certain way, that it's got that emotional, you made it to spiritual and something from your heart, and that's what comes to the person. So you have the same actually piece sung by a cantor who's an opera singer. He's really not. There's a difference between an opera singer and a cantor.
Yeah,
there is a difference. So they sing it. It sounds like Mozart, whatever. It doesn't sound real. But if you sing Hashkivenu Avinu Leshalom Ve'amidenu Malkeinu L'chaim l'chavayim l'shavam. It's all in the phrasing and how you sing it.
One invites you in and one says, watch this.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the difference why people tell me, when I hear you, I hear God. I feel God in front of me, right. Because I make it to a prayer, not to a performance.
Right. There's the difference. Right? And then there's some music that is infectious and the congregation just wants to be part of it. I like a lechadodi or something, right? Where
Exactly.
It's infectious. You just want lechadodi. People just love it. But
that's my song, by the way.
Yeah.
That's my tune. Wow.
Right. And also you play the oud, right?
Right, I play the oud by ear. Again, it's something that when I heard this oud played from an Arabic instrument, oud player from Morocco, I almost fainted because of the love, this crazy love that I had for music, and so this stayed with me all the time. And now, at my age, I'm 67. I'm a little bit older than you. I started to take oud lessons from somebody, from a refugee that came from Syria, the most nicest, humble musician you can imagine, and knowledgeable. And he says, you can call me with any question or anything. I'll be more than happy to sit with you, explain to you everything. And there's no ending of hours, of minutes. This is the kind of teacher you dream to find. Where are you going to find a teacher in Toronto that tells you can call me anytime? It doesn't exist. You call them, there is a bill afterwards,
Yeah. Well, give them 5 years. We'll see what happens then.
Exactly.
He'll go, wait a minute. It's like bargaining.
Yeah.
So why at 68 did you decide, because you already knew how to play the oud, why at 68 did you decide I want a teacher for oud?
Yeah, because whenever I pick up the instrument, I want to be able to express myself to the talent that God gave me. And I don't feel that the science of oud, which is a science like any music, all these modes and everything, to be precise and to be really authentic and to give it with your best of your ability, you need a mentor. You need somebody who will tell you. You want the sound mastery of the oud. When you hold the instrument, you have the face to look at it and to play it in front of people. You gotta do some homework. You gotta do work. It just. But I took it to where I played on stage and everything, and people loved it and everything. But I always feel something is missing. I need to really delve into it, and I owe that to myself and to the instrument to do that.
So you said the word that I've been thinking about lately. Two things here. One is sometimes I'll lead a Torah study class. One of our rabbis here says, I'm going out of town. Would you lead Torah study? And I said, I'm honored. I'd love to. But I sometimes say, what I find interesting, the non-rational, the mystery part of our spiritual brains, that you have. I could interrupt somebody in the middle of Sim Shalom or a song they've sung a million times, Adon Olam, whatever it is. Right. And I go, do you know what you're saying? Like in English, can you tell me what it is you're singing? And they go, no, I don't. And I say, does it matter to you that you don't know what it actually means, what you're singing? And most of the time they say, no, I don't care. It's the fact that I've done this my whole life and these people I do it with, and we're doing it together. Do you think it matters that people know exactly what they're singing in translation? Or does it matter more that they're singing together once a week?
These two parts are both of them important. You don't really need to know something to be moved by something. I mean, right. You don't to know really the meaning, to have the experience of singing an Adon Olam or any hymn in the synagogue and really be part of it. But there is other people that cannot do that to themselves. They have to understand what they're saying, and they take the time to have a better experience, not necessarily better. They're this type of people, intellectuals. They have to understand everything they're saying. So for them to be able to have that really love or experience that they're looking for, they have to understand, because their mind is built like that. So you have these two schools that I fought my whole entire life with. Do you learn music? I can sit on a piano and make all kinds of stuff, or on a oud, and it comes out natural just because the music is always burning. Or do you want to become this person that knows what they're doing, but not necessarily that it's going to give me any better results as far as composition or anything else? Because sometimes it takes away from it by knowing too much. You become it's like voice lessons. They teach you stand, sit, this. After so many rules, you don't know how to sing anymore. But it got to be something natural,
That's right. Leave me alone. Exactly. I just want to sing. Leave me alone. It's not as hard as you're making it. Yeah, no. That's very interesting. So here's the other thing. You said a person can listen to you and then think that there's a godliness, a God moment for them. When you think of God, what do you think of?
When I think of God, I don't think of a punishing God. I think of a God that he's here to help you. He knows we're not angels. He knows when we make mistakes in life. We treat people badly sometimes. We say the wrong things, especially family. You may say something to your wife and she cries, and you have that on your shoulder all day and for many, many years. But God is not a God that wants to come and punish us. He's here to help you through your journey. Life is a journey. God wants to see you to come to your purpose, the purpose that you came into this world. So he's here to hold your hand like a father and a son, and to take you from one side of the lake to the end, which is basically the end of our life. So that's how I think of God. And many times, it takes a lot of experiences in life and everything to go through a lot to understand that. A lot of studies, and everywhere I turn, it's basically the rabbis. They're trying to tell us, be careful to do this and be careful to do that and be careful to do that. But in the end, God is out there in giving us so many opportunities to straighten up and to find the purpose really why we came here into this world, which is one of the most difficult, because we're looking our life. How can we be beneficial to other people? How can we help? How could we, let's say my music. I want to do music to show that there is godliness in this world, by singing with a beautiful voice. God gave you that present, you're giving it back by helping people, institutions, whatever, or a bar mitzvah, you're teaching him, or you're making simcha for a hatan and kala, for a groom and a bride. So you're taking what God gave you and you're making it come alive. So that's what God that's the importance that as far as the connection between a human being, any human being, it doesn't matter whether you're Jewish or there is a purpose for everybody. And here he is, if you fight enough, he will take you to the other side of like my mother says, Victor Hugo would say, if you come from one side of the lake and go to the other side of the lake or the ocean with all its waves, which is life and all its ups and downs, and you can see the other side, and you made it. And life is ups and downs. We have to fight and try to find the purpose. I don't know why I got into it here.
No. Look, it's not a question. You turn around to somebody on the subway and go, God, what do you think of God? What is God? But I do find that everybody has their own way of seeing it.
Right.
But in your answer, one of the things that I'm thinking is, where are women in that? There, God is a he.
Right, or a she, right.
Right. So, but you also, like me, grew up in a milieu, in a cultural tradition where there are the men and there are the women. Right. And the men are, on the pulpit and on the bima, and the women are not.
Right.
But now here we are. Where do you see the role of women in prayer leadership and song leadership and synagogue leadership? Where do you see them?
Yeah. When I first started in conservative movement, there was no shlichat tzibur, a woman becoming a cantor or a rabbi at that time.
Right.
And there was actually a part of the synagogue that was separated between men and women, because that's what the conservative movement is, to show all the facets of Judaism and to conform to it and giving you a chance to do how you want to be. That was the ideal then, but things have changed, to more egalitarian, and so the traditional part was sort of like lost. And I'm sad to see that today, even though I'm still involved with the conservative movement too, as far as singing different occasions like conventions and things like that. But I'm sad to see this part. That it's up to you. You want to be Orthodox or modern Orthodox or conservative on the right side or on the left side. It's up to you. But that's not anymore the case. But I do accept that women took a part into the davening and to becoming rabbis, because let's face it, they are just as smart as we are, if not smarter than men. So they have a lot to say and a lot to give. Now, it doesn't mean that and even in the modern Orthodox, a rabbi took a place also where she can be a rabbi, but not a cantor, because they still, in the books of ethics, according to tradition, a woman cannot really, she can wear tefillin, she can do a lot of the things, but to the point where she could be shlichat tzibur, I'm not sure whether we have crossed that border, but I think that we will cross that point, at certain points where women will be even shlichat tzibur by modern Orthodox also.
Right.
It's singing on Shabbat and singing here, and before you know it, they have more beautiful voices than we do.
And you're out of a job.
Great job.
But here's an interesting thing that I always noticed coming from Morocco and living in Canada was, I came from a place where there was no such thing as Reform, Reconstructionist, conservative, Orthodox. You were just Jewish.
That's right.
And there was only one way to do it. And when I came here and grew up with all these kids whose parents went to all these different kinds of synagogues with different levels of observance, and to my parents, this was very like, what are these people doing? Not, bad thing. My mother was the first woman to be the president of the sisterhood at Petah Tikva, and demanded that women have a voice and vote on all constitution and bylaw things for the synagogue. So she was a very progressive woman. So I grew up with that, and I was very grateful. But I realized that there was these choices one could make as to how they were going to be Jewish. Right. And that took getting used to for me, because, I remember I always say, opening my friend's fridge and seeing a package of bacon and just staring at it. And then going home, and my mother was like, how was your day with your friend? And I said, Ma, they've got bacon in the fridge. And she said, here it's different. They just do everything differently that way. But I do think that the different ways of being Jewish have brought out some really good innovations in the religion as well. And, there are beautiful voices, Aviva Chernik and people like that. There's just beautiful singing voices of that, and they should be heard, and rabbis who I've learned from over the years. So it is a different world, and tradition has a place. But what I've noticed is for Sephardic Jews, for Moroccan Jews, they have gravitated to the Orthodox way of being, because right. the others don't follow all the so-called traditions in as rigorous a way. So even though we were a traditional, not Orthodox people, but a traditional people, we are now, I have cousins who are Orthodox, and they look exactly like Eastern European Jews. They wear the black jacket, the white shirt, the black hat. And right, I'm just like, I remember being at the wall at the Kotel in Jerusalem, and a guy comes up to me, and he looks like he's from 1893 Poland. I mean, he looks exactly like ultra-Orthodox. And he's basically hitting me up for money while I'm at the wall. And his first question was, "You Jewish?" And I was upset, because he was interrupting my prayer. And I turned to him, I said, "Yeah, is that okay with you?" And he said, No, I'm just asking, I'm asking. And then, I said, he says, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" I said, "Canada. Actually, I'm Moroccan, but I'm from Canada." And he goes, "Oh, I'm Moroccan." And I looked at him and I thought, I would never in a million years have known that you are from the Arab world, right? You have just taken that and put it aside. Right. And the way we see the Arab-Jewish conflicts of today is very sad for me, because I also think, unlike the Christian-Jewish relationship in Europe, which was fraught for centuries, yes, we were dhimmi, we were the second-class citizen, no doubt about it. But there was also a beautiful richness that when you're singing with a Sephardic song, what weaves through all of it is that we have been moving through that lake together. The Arab and the Jew, the Muslim and the Jew have been doing that.
Right.
What do you think of that?
No, this is what you're saying is 100% true, and there's a lot of big rabbis like the head rabbi of Israel before. He's no longer with us, but he had this difference where he didn't want to have that our people should imitate or be something else. They should stay true to their own culture, to their own upbringing and everything. So that change of being really looking like from Poland, like you say, with the black hat and everything, it happens more outside, like in Lakewood and the yeshiva in Brooklyn, because we don't have today yeshivot like the Ashkenazim. We don't have that strength of caliber of raising money and the popular and what's popular and everything. We don't have that. We don't have the skills to, and we don't have the people neither. So they intermerge with the Ashkenazim. What's good is you become a rabbi in Lakewood and you got the black hat and you got the education from that. Then you can come and be a rabbi in a Sephardic shul. That's what you
Right.
what it is.
But you've been in Ashkenazi synagogues for years. Is there ever a tension of, I should, my mother would have been happy, mind you, your mother wasn't happy you were in music, but it would have been right for me to have been in a Sephardic synagogue, or did you make your peace with that a long time ago?
No, I had no choice, really, the truth of the matter. I went into Cantor. I always loved, to pray in the synagogue when I was a kid. But basically what I wanted is to be a rock star, whatever, take a guitar and be Bob Dylan. That's what I wanted,
Or take a nude and be Bob Dylan.
Yeah. But life took me differently, and I had to make a living, and I knew singing in an Israeli club will give me a plate of couscous for free. That's not going to go that far,
The practical side of you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, listen, same journey. I could have, looked for a free meal at the end of a gig, or I could go be a culture worker for 20 years at the CBC. It would have been just fine. So we have to say goodbye, which is, I've loved talking to you. It's just, there's not that many Moroccans in Canada. So the fact that we're both here and we've both survived it all, it's pretty good.
That is true. It's really wow. To talk, and you have such a distinctive voice. It's my God, it goes through like any microphone.
Well, listen, one day I'll come into Toronto. We'll sit together. We'll eat real food.
Oh, exactly.
Right? And we'll share some stories. You take care of yourself, okay?
Thank you so much, Ralph. Thank you. It's really a pleasure and to see you and everything. And I hope that we will meet in person with God's help. And
con favor de Dios, as my mother would say.
Thank you so much. And it's a beautiful, you're amazing in interviewing. Wow.
Well, thank you thank you for your music. And so do you have a website people can go to? Because I find you on Facebook and I find songs, but do you have...
I have one, but I don't think it's workable. It's just not. I'm not just a type that follows.
Right.
People send me, and that's
so they can Google Aaron Aaron Bensoussan,
right?
Bensoussan.
Right.
On YouTube, for instance, and because they can watch you sing, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Exactly. And they can be in touch with me through there if they want to have like a wedding or something, because I still do weddings. I'm not in a synagogue full time,
right? But
I still do wedding occasionally when people want me in their wedding. So I keep a little bit busy in that way, not completely off.
Yeah, no, I would be a great loss. It would be a great loss. So take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you. I'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll get to meet in person soon. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ralph.
My pleasure.
Thank you. God bless you, and good health to you and your family.
And you, Aaron Bensoussan, Cantor Aaron, as we say, singer of sacred songs, an artist in his own right. and my guest on Not That Kind of Rabbi. Please remember patreon.com/NTKR if you want to donate to this website, to this podcast. My website is ralphbenmergui.ca, and my new book is called I Thought He Was Dead. You can check it out. There's some excerpts from it on the Canadian Jewish News website as well. So please take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon on Not That Kind of Rabbi. Bye.